For my first interview, I've decided to interview my mom, Julie O'Grady, a sales manager for Lifetime Brands, who's responsible for over $10 million in business in the club, grocery, and drug market. So, tell me a story about the last time you faced a problem in a professional or workplace setting.
The last time that I faced a problem was during the whole COVID outbreak and changing from meeting face-to-face with buyers to working online with them. I was in the middle of a major line review with a competitor that had the business for 5 years prior, and I was trying to win a significant amount of business and had to do it all online.
And what was the hardest part about that, would you say?
The hardest part about it is that communicating with a buyer online, when you're in sales, a lot of the selling part of your job is building relationships with your buyers and your planners and everybody that you work with another company, and building up your reputation and establishing credibility is all part of that job. And doing it on a Zoom call, transitioning from doing it in person to having to do it on a Zoom call is extremely taxing and frustrating at times.
Sure. So what made that so difficult for you?
What makes it difficult is that in a professional setting, when I would go and meet with the buyer personally, I would have his undivided attention. I could show him the attributes of the products that I was selling face to face and hold them in front of him. We could touch and feel, which is a lot different than what you're doing over a Zoom call. Also, I had their attention. There wasn't a phone that they would get distracted with. There wasn't other computers that they were looking at that time. There wasn't a dog barking, their kids yelling, any of those things that I'm now faced with.
So as of right now, how are you going about solving this issue in your day-to-day?
I'm trying to schedule times based off of what works best for the buyer, and then rearranging my work schedule to work with whatever works for them. And then it's just having patience. That's a main part of it, is having patience and trying to extract as much information as you can over a Zoom call versus being in person. The other thing is I'm sending samples to both my home office and the buyer's home office so that at the same time we can both be looking at and talking about the same product.
So what would you say is the problem with the solution that you've made to address this and it not being as beneficial as how it was before?
The hardest part of it is that building the relationship part, I would say, is that when I would go and meet with the customer in person, again, having that undivided attention, you also got to kind of see their body language and get to know them a lot differently than you over a Zoom call.
That makes a lot of sense. So on the flip side, could you tell me a story about the last time that you faced a problem in your personal life or a personal setting?
This has been a challenge throughout my work life, is because I've always worked out of my home office. So I have, especially challenging now with the work-life balance. Being in sales, I always feel like I have to be available. So with my phone, I'm always checking it. I'm always looking at my emails. I can never really take a day off. And with the way that everybody's working odd hours and trying to fit whatever time in, I feel like I have to be available. Some of my buyers start work at 10 o'clock at night and will start shooting off emails because they've got their kids at home, and this is right after they put their kids to bed. So I think that's the hardest thing that I'm trying to work through right now.
So you'd say that that was pretty much the most difficult part about being at home throughout this situation?
Yeah, I'd say being at home. There's a lot of other things, same with me. I've got family around that normally wouldn't be around, and just trying to manage that along with my job.
And what would you say made that so difficult for you?
I think one of the things that makes it very difficult is that my desire to not only achieve but exceed expectations. So when I'm trying to build relationships with customers, I want to make sure that I'm engaged with them and working with them. And if there's anything that arises, that they know that I'm paying attention to their needs and their business.
Absolutely. And what would you say that you're doing currently to solve that problem and address the issue right now?
So I can't say that I'm addressing the problem very well. I have tried to take some time off, and when I do take that time off, I look at my phone and my emails in the morning, and then I let it go for a few hours. And then I look at it again at lunchtime, and then I let it go for a few hours. But I haven't succeeded in not looking at it at all. So even on the weekends, I can't turn it off.
And because of that, is that one of the reasons why your current solution hasn't been as beneficial, because you haven't had that time of true escape from what you're living in right now and with your job right now?
I would say that it's difficult on everybody in my family because it's not like I have an office to go to where you go to the office and then you shut the light off, you shut the door, and you walk away. I always know that the answer to one of my problems or anything is right down the hall. So it's very difficult to try to shut that off. And I'd say this whole COVID working from home with everyone has just made this problem even more difficult and challenging due to, like I said earlier, the buyers that I'm trying to connect with and build relationships with, they're not on a typical 9 to 5 or 8 to 5 or 8 to 6 work day.
Absolutely. Well, that makes a lot of sense, and I greatly appreciate your taking the time out of your busy schedule, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.
Thank you.